What's up guys, James Blonde here with MMOHuts.com. This time taking a look at the alpha of the highly anticipated sandbox MMORPG Black Desert, developed by Pearl Abyss and published in the West by Dom. Now we've been excited to see pretty much anything we could on a Western version of this game for several years now, and all of a sudden that silence was broken recently with an announcement trailer reconfirming its very existence, and come to find out it's actually launching in the West sooner than we originally anticipated. What we seemed to get wrong was that the game is going to be free-to-play. So yeah, this one is going to be a buy-to-play title, along the lines of how Guild Wars 2 worked before going free-to-play itself. So no subscription fees, but there will be a cosmetics-based cash shop. I recently asked you guys in the recap if you wanted us to still cover the game despite this fact, and you guys answered with a very clear yes. So with that said, you guys already got a chance to see the detailed customization in the first video. So with this video, I'll showcase some of the features as well as my thoughts on the alpha. Okay, so starting out, just to give you an upfront idea of what was available during the alpha, which is now over. It ended November 2nd. It was set up to focus on the early portion of the game, making the alpha level cap 30, and the leveling progression adjusted to slow down the overall progression during the alpha. But I do have a feeling that it started after level 10 because it doesn't take that long to actually get to level 10, but it does take significantly longer to get to 11, 12, and so on. The alpha did have PvP, which was available at level 20, but sadly I wasn't able to check that out this time around. And the cash shop was also unavailable, but that should answer some of the questions of whether or not they do have an actual cash shop in the game in the first place, seeing that the game is now buy-to-play. So clearly the answer is yes, and my thoughts are that it's going to be set up, again, just like Guild Wars 2, pre-free-to-play, where you can buy costumes, cosmetic items, and convenience stuff, and that's just my speculation on a Western-adapted cash shop. There is more information about what's in the cash shops in other versions of the game, but you've got to remember when localizing these games, that can actually be changed in order to make sense for particular regions. Blade and Soul is a good example of this. Now, one thing that I've been hearing from other people in the alpha is that there isn't any content in the game. You've got this elaborate game, but there's nothing to do. Well, the developers have also mentioned under the known issues, you can see here, that the content is still being adjusted. And like I said, content isn't exactly the focus of this alpha, rather getting you into the way the game feels, with the combat mainly, the questing, and some of the base features like crafting, for example. Now, I'm also saying hold your horses on the demand for content in this case because I haven't played any of the other versions of the game, so I can't really speak for the amount of content in further developed versions. So what I'm saying for this version, based on what I've played, the only reason for lack of content is due to the focus of the first alpha. They're supposed to open up several other large areas for content along the way. I mean, it's called Black Desert, and we don't have access to the desert yet. That right there should kind of say something. Anyway, enough about that. To give you an idea, the game is set up with a sandbox style very similar to Arcade, but plays more like Vindictus or Terra. One of the great things is that the world is seamless. There are no loading screens anywhere unless you join up for PvP, which is a really cool feeling, honestly. Even the housing and taverns that you get to enter have no loading screens, even though it's technically instance-based in this situation. It just loads in the objects and as soon as you get there, and then it keeps it connected to the open world. I would totally be okay with more games doing this. And the way the engine is set up in this game, you feel like the structures in the environment have a lot more structural purpose, and that they're actually, like, physically there. Seeing that the combat is precise with accurate hitboxes in the right locations, they've sort of followed this up with nearly everything in the game. Hence the reason you can bump into other players and NPCs as you run past them or interact with most structures. Or op a fence or two in this case. So with a combination of this, the seamless world, basically free of instances, and plenty of cutscenes and cool NPC interactions, delivers the kind of sandbox feel that I feel that players are looking for. So if you like the Arcade style, but feel it's lacking in a couple of areas, like combat, just to name one, then Black Desert is definitely going to be right up your alley. And that being said, and I wasn't able to actually look into this because I don't think it was implemented into the alpha just yet, but this game does have a labor points type system like Arcade, but apparently it's not tedious and broken, as plenty of you guys would say. Apparently in this system, the labor points are not used for every single thing in the game, but it is used for gathering materials and establishing loyalty with NPCs, according to the other versions of Black Desert. So you don't have to use the labor points for the professions themselves in the game, and that probably separates it out the most. Plus, you can gain these points at a much faster rate, and you can even do daily quests in order to get a lot of these points at one time. So I've read. Now, the nice thing that goes along with that, and sort of reassures that this system isn't going to be tedious, is that there isn't an option for premium service or subscription model in this game that would offer beneficial increases or put a demand on labor points for the actual labor system. They're not pulling an Arcade here. Or at least it doesn't seem like that so far. Anyway, on to the combat. In my character creation video, I mentioned that there are 5 classes in this alpha, and I've got to say, just real quickly, in the other versions of Black Desert, there are plenty more classes to choose from. From the looks of it, there are 12 already available, some of which seem to be the gender counterpart to another class, like the Wizard and the Witch, the Warrior and the Valkyrie, and there's a couple of others. So even though the classes are technically gender-locked, there's typically an alternative in the opposite gender, with a couple of tweaks here and there that you can play as. So in my opinion, this sort of makes the gender-locked aspect have a lot less impact in terms of being a problem. But combat, I'd definitely say the game has a very vindictive feel to it, especially since the physical boundaries of everything in the game are so defined, like I mentioned earlier. And another big reason is because of the comboing and control system in the game. It's a soft lock and free aim system in that you have to face your target, be within accurate range, and then continue to focus on your target in order to attack it. You can miss if you're not careful, so it is skill based. But once you've started a fight with your target, especially with the range classes like the sorceress here, it helps you stay snapped to your target a little easier. So it does give you a little bit of flexibility with keeping on track. But it doesn't at all hold your hand, and the combat can get a little challenging at first until you get familiar with it. The controls are set up with WASD, mouse controls, and the combination of mouse and keyboard. So in a lot of cases, it's very similar to Vindictus. You have right-click attacks, left-click attack, and as an example, you can do a forward, or W, with left-click in order to do a thrust-like attack, and back, or S, with left-click to do a charge attack. One of my abilities here on the Sorceress is S and F pressed together to perform a launch back attack dealing magic damage, which is really cool. And this ability here is just E. And here we have a short but devastating combo with the F key. Always like this one. And one thing you might notice right away is there's some extreme audio feedback with the combat on impact. Sounds like everything is exploding around you, which is really cool, mind you, especially with the Berserker class. I mean, you feel like the Hulk constantly crushing the world. By default, there's a lot of screen shake, but then you can go in and cut that down quite a bit and still get good feedback from just the audio alone. You also have a couple of abilities that work with the shift key and dodging, so you can really strafe and attack nicely, which is really helpful when fighting the larger enemies that happen to be higher level than you are and hit harder, much harder. Following your dodge with an attack is always nice. So in a sense, it's kind of like a faster version of Dark Souls combat, just slightly less detailed. It's not quite at that level. But as you level up and you get more abilities, you get more key inputs for your attack that you have to get used to. So at first, it was a little tough to memorize or figure out without looking at the options closely. But once you get the hang of it, it gets really smooth and seamless. Plus, the better your combinations, the more damage you end up doing, and there's a nice system that sort of suggests follow-up abilities. Not quite as cool as the Blade and Soul system, but still cool. Closer to what Terra offers combo-wise, and I think people are really going to like this. Besides the not all that elaborate key combinations for your abilities, you also have your standard hotbar abilities bound to your number keys. However, once you start to get used to the key combos and shortcuts, you're probably going to want to ditch the hotbar altogether, or put some more of the difficult moves to pull off on your 1 through 4 keys, along with your potions. And you probably already noticed that the cooldowns are really quick, so that adds to the flow of combat, but at the same time I've heard some alpha testers complain about a crap ton of button mashing, and I didn't really seem to mind this. I mean, yeah, it is skill-based, and there is a lot of button mashing, but it makes... You have to figure out what you're doing in order to do this effectively and create more damage. In fact, to me, it felt more visceral, and of course, you are limited by the mana, so it isn't exactly continuous button mashing, and each one of the classes is going to feel a little different with this system. But overall, the combat in the game is a piece of art, in my opinion, something that we don't come across very often, that's for sure. In the alpha, the rest of the game can be slightly overwhelming at first, or at least that's what I got out of it. The questing so far is pretty general, talking to NPCs and killing certain mobs. Now I've got to say, the way the mobs are set up in the game, it feels a lot more organic than your typical MMORPG does. The detail in the enemies is a huge plus, but despite having a crap ton of, say, goblins walking around, they all seem like they're doing something in the world, instead of just standing there pacing back and forth or not moving at all like you see in some other MMORPGs. Sort of like the NPCs traveling from the village to village. It's a world of... It really helps with the sandbox immersion in this case, even if they are really just walking around freely. The quest tracking is pretty awesome in this game too, I've got to say. You can visually see the next spot you go to, like this, and on the minimap. But then you also have the option to auto-run to the location, which, as long as it's an option, is fine by me. It's great that your character moves so quickly in this game, that's another thing. And not to mention the sprint function, which makes it even faster in short bursts. And like I said earlier, there's nothing like being able to run into every single person that you pass. I just wish the auto-run wasn't set to do that automatically. So you pick up quests from NPCs along the way, but from what I've noticed, the questing isn't very linear in regards to finding quests at your level. A lot of the time you would find quests several levels higher and then would either have to suck up to the challenge or find side quests around to work on leveling to close the gap of some of the main quests. You also have the Black Spirit that follows you around that you can pick up quests from. He's not, creepy or anything. This little guy also lets you do some weapon and gear enhancements once you've gathered the correct materials, of course. Another thing that's worth mentioning that I also found really nice in this game is the world map. You've got a lot of detail here with a full 3D view and zoom, and as the objects change based on the player influence in this game, it gets updated in real time on the map. So very detailed, really well established in an alpha form. And that really speaks for the whole game so far. Everything seems to be really clean. The visuals are fantastic, as expected. The art style isn't necessarily my favorite, but it definitely looks nice while playing. Then again, there's still a lot to be explored. I try to get my hands on as much as possible during the alpha, but there are so many more features that are going to be added and available when it gets closer to launch. It's absolutely crazy. Of course, you can tame and ride mounts. Right now, there are horses and donkeys. Later on, you're going to have options for camels and even elephants. That's pretty cool. There's going to be a lot of sea-based content, kind of like Arcade. You've got whale hunting, exploring remote islands for resources, naval battles. Hopefully it's as extensive as Arcade. Even in the alpha, you could look at the basic housing. It's set up a little different than Arcade in that you don't actually build your house. Rather, you rent it out like an apartment. It's more along the lines of DC Universe Online with the layer of the hideout system. Not to mention the guild versus guild PvP and siege battles. A lot of people are going to like that. So, yeah, there's plenty more to explore in the game, but it's fantastic so far. Let us know in the comments below what features stand out to you or what you're looking forward to. Also, let us know what you think about the game being buy-to-play. I mean, to me, it seems like it could be buy-to-play for a little while and then transition over free-to-play after some sort of time frame, just because it seems like it's structured to do so easy. And yeah, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Check out my zombie customization video to get a feel for the detailed character creation process. Head over to the game profile at MMOHuts.com for more information and news about Black Desert. But until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.